Have you ever had one of those days where you feel like something is a little bit off beneath the surface of everyday life? That's what They Live specializes in. It was released many years ago, and yet, here we are decades later, and the ghost of this movie is everywhere. It's in our memes, our street art, our political debates. How did this happen? Today, we're putting on the glasses to figure out WTF Happened to They Live. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origins, from 1960s short story to Reagan-era cinema. Where did a wild idea like They Live even come from? The origins can be traced back to 1963, with a little short story called 8 o'clock in the morning. It told the story of an ordinary man who awakens from a trance to find that an alien invasion has hypnotized the entire human race. The way John Carpenter himself described it, the hero only has until 8 a.m. to somehow save the world. Years later, that story got turned into a comic book strip called Nada. Carpenter found both the comic and the original story, saw the raw potential in them, and knew he had to make a movie out of it. But when it came time to actually write the screenplay, he didn't put his own name on it. He used a fake name, Frank Armitage. And the reason why is pretty cool, especially if you're a horror fan. He felt that the script was a mix of so many different things. The original story, the comic book, and even the ideas from the cast and crew, that he didn't want to take all the credit. The name itself was a deep-cut tribute to one of his favorite writers, the master of cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft. Henry Armitage is a key character in one of Lovecraft's most famous stories. Carpenter once explained that he feels a real connection to the idea of a world underneath, a hidden reality lurking beneath our own, filled with ancient, powerful beings waiting to return. Plot basics: alien oppression in broad daylight. So our story kicks off with this guy, Nada. He's a drifter, a man who wanders in LA, looking for work. He lands a construction gig and makes a friend, a guy named Frank, who lets him crash at this local shantytown. Right away, things feel a little off. There's a street preacher yelling about how they have taken over, and a mysterious hacker keeps hijacking TV signals, warning people that they're being controlled. After the cops raid the shantytown and wreck the place, Nada manages to grab a leftover box from a nearby church. He discovers a pair of sunglasses inside. However, his entire world shifts the moment he puts them on. He sees the truth concealed in plain sight, and everything goes black and white. Billboards and magazines don't advertise products. They have simple hidden commands on them like obey, consume, and stay asleep. Money says, this is your god, and the scariest part? He sees that a lot of wealthy, powerful-looking people walking around aren't people at all. They're grotesque, bug-eyed, skull-faced aliens hiding in human skin. The moment the aliens realize he can see them, all hell breaks loose. After a wild shootout, Nada ends up in a bank full of these creatures. He goes on a rampage and escapes by taking a woman named Holly hostage. He tries to get her to see the truth, but she's not having it and shoves him out a window. Nada eventually tracks down his buddy Frank, who thinks he's gone completely insane. What follows is one of the most legendary and ridiculously long alley fights in movie history, all because Frank refuses to just put on the damn glasses. When he finally does, his world is shattered too. The two of them connect with a small human resistance and get the full picture. The aliens are using Earth like a third world planet, cranking up global warming to make it more like their home, all while draining our resources. And they're paying off human collaborators to help them keep everyone else asleep. Holly shows up at a resistance meeting, but it turns out to be a trap. The place is raided, and Nada and Frank barely escape by accidentally activating an alien teleporter watch, which zaps them right into the heart of the alien headquarters, a TV station. They fight their way to the roof to destroy the broadcast tower that's hiding the aliens from the world. But in a final brutal twist, Holly murders Frank. She was a collaborator the whole time. Nada, with his dying breath, manages to kill Holly and shoot the transmitter. And in one of the most iconic final shots ever, he gives the camera the middle finger as he dies. With the signal gone, the veil is lifted. All across the world, people suddenly look at their bosses, their politicians, and the people next to them on the bus, and for the first time, they see the aliens living among them. Production notes. Casting, effects, and that fight scene. When it came to casting his hero, Nada, director John Carpenter did something pretty brilliant. Instead of picking some polished Hollywood pretty boy, he went in a totally different direction. He'd seen the pro wrestler Rowdy Roddy Piper at a WrestleMania event and saw this authentic world-weary guy. He had a realness to him, a life story written on his face, which was perfect for the role. And for the other main character, Frank, Carpenter knew exactly who he wanted, Keith David, whom he'd already worked with on his classic horror film, The Thing. Part of what makes the movie work so well is that it was made on a shoestring budget. We're talking over $3 million. Instead of trying to hide that, Carpenter leaned right into it. The aliens weren't designed to look super realistic. They were designed to look ghoulish and gross, to visually represent the ugly corruption they stood for. In the end, that low-budget feel wasn't a bug, it was a feature. It became a huge part of the movie's charm and helped make its satirical bite feel even sharper. Themes and satire. Anti-capitalist allegory on overdrive. It's easy to forget this now, but back in the 80s, movies and television were at war, fighting for our eyeballs. TV was taking over, and filmmakers actually had to change how they shot movies, making sure they wouldn't look terrible on your small screen at home. But there was a bigger issue. TV was way more vulnerable to commercials and the demands of pushy executives. Independent films, on the other hand, could be more rebellious, and that's exactly what They Live is. It's John Carpenter picking a side. He's not only making a movie, he's taking a stand against the mind-numbing influence of television and advertising. He used his film as a weapon to fight back against the way TV tries to control us. Now, here's the genius of how he does it. The movie never explicitly shows the subliminal messages that directly brainwash people. Instead, it shows something much smarter, something that feels way more real. The aliens have set themselves up as rich, cool, upper-class elite, and what do humans do? They copy them. They want nice cars, fancy suits, and that lifestyle. It's the perfect takedown of how advertising really works. You see someone you admire with a certain product, and suddenly you feel like you need it too. Carpenter perfectly captured that trickle-down effect of consumerism and used it to roast the culture of the 1980s. The critique was so spot on that the movie got praise from people on all sides of the political spectrum. It's kind of like that old silent film Metropolis. Both the Nazis and the Allies saw things in it that they thought proved their own points about the modern world. You know a movie has hit a nerve when everyone thinks it's about them. Both Metropolis and They Live get a really big question. How do you hold on to your identity when society is trying to turn you into another cog in the machine? In the 80s, the big fear wasn't a dictator. It was the subtle manipulation of TV, selling you a prepackaged lifestyle that only benefited the people in power. And that's the magic of what Carpenter did. He took these huge, paranoid ideas about surveillance and free will and wrapped them up in the most entertaining package possible. A sci-fi action flick starring a pro wrestler spouting iconic one-liners. It's a brilliant mix of highbrow and lowbrow, and it's why They Live is one of the most important satires of its time. Honestly, its warning feels more urgent today than ever. It leaves us with a question we should still be asking ourselves. Are the choices we make really our own, or are we being nudged along by the ads and the screens that are all around us?
Attention.
Initial release, flop or hidden gem. So if you look up They Live today on a site like Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see it got a really high score. It's certified fresh, and the general consensus is that it's a smart, underrated classic that cleverly blends sci-fi, horror, and political commentary. But man, back in 1988, critics were completely split on this thing. It was a real love it or hate it situation. On one hand, you had reviewers who saw the genius in it. A writer for the Boston Globe, for example, put it in the same league as The Terminator and RoboCop. They got what Carpenter was trying to do, even if they had a few issues with it. But on the other hand, some of the biggest critics at the time just tore it to shreds. So for years, the movie had this mixed-up reputation. And here's where the story gets really interesting. The film critics might have dismissed it, but the thinkers, they started to see something profound going on. Philosopher Slavoj Žižek even used the film to launch one of his documentaries. He argues that They Live is one of the most important movies ever made about how our society works. He says the sunglasses are the key to everything. They're a tool that lets you see past all the propaganda and advertising to the truth underneath. As Žižek puts it, when you wear the glasses, you finally see the dictatorship and democracy. You see the invisible system of rules and controls that keep our so-called freedom in check.
Thank you for waiting, and we hope you have a pleasant trip.
Legacy, meme culture, street art, and culture jamming. You know, the thing about They Live is how it just refuses to get old. In fact, you could argue it's even more relevant today, which is kind of depressing when you think about it. John Carpenter made this movie because he was genuinely worried about the direction the world was heading, with Reaganomics and all the consumer madness of the 80s. Well, take a look around. Has anything really changed? People are constantly using the movie's imagery to comment on today's world. A few years back, the Big Issue magazine put out this amazing cover showing what Donald Trump would look like through Nada's sunglasses. And yep, you guessed it, he was one of the skull-faced aliens. That Trump image was actually part of this cool little exhibition in Liverpool celebrating the movie. They had all sorts of stuff, behind-the-scenes photos of Carpenter on set, beautifully reprinted Obey posters, and even a real Ronald Reagan campaign poster from the 80s. Seeing that old campaign slogan right next to the movie props was a perfect way to show how the film's fiction was directly commenting on reality. And of course, you can't talk about the legacy of They Live without mentioning the street artist Shepard Fairey. His Obey campaign, with the face of the wrestler Andre the Giant, is world famous now. And he's always been upfront that the idea came directly from this movie. It's no surprise the movie hit him so hard. That style, the bold, blocky text over a black and white image, feels so familiar for a reason. Carpenter was tapping into what cutting-edge artists like Barbara Kruger and Jenny Holzer were already doing. They were hijacking the language of advertising to make people wake up and question the world around them. Carpenter just brought that idea to the big screen. At the end of the day, that's why this movie has lasted. Sure, it's a super fun and entertaining action flick you can just enjoy on the surface, but just like the powerful art that inspired it, it endures because it was a direct, passionate response to the times it was made in. And its message is simple and timeless. Be vigilant, pay attention, because the battle for your mind is real. Modern readings, 21st century relevance and controversies. It's strange how a 1988 film can seem like it was released today, but that's precisely what happens with They Live. This film just strikes a different chord when you consider the current state of the world, with all the talk about media manipulation, the enormous wealth disparity, and the crazy conspiracy theories that are circulating. It feels more like a documentary than science fiction. The movie's main thesis that you can see the real truth by donning glasses is so apt that a variety of groups have attempted to appropriate it and make it fit their own ideologies. This is where it gets really ugly though. The message of the movie has been appropriated by some white supremacist and neo-Nazi organizations. By arguing that the aliens are actually a metaphor for Jews ruling the world, they have attempted to turn this anti-corporate, anti-authoritarian tale into a hateful anti-Semitic conspiracy. John Carpenter himself has had to come out again and again to shut this down, and he does not mince words. He's been crystal clear about it on social media, saying, "Look, my movie is about one thing: yuppies and the damage done by out-of-control capitalism." Conclusion. Why They Live endures. So it's no surprise that the legacy of They Live is just massive. It has seeped into every corner of pop culture for the last few decades. Entertainment Weekly even named it one of the most essential cult movies ever made. The movie's DNA is all over the video game world too. Way back in the day, a Simpsons game had Bart using special glasses to see aliens hiding in Springfield. Decades later, the game Saints Row 4 did an entire parody of the film, and they even got the original actors, Roddy Piper and Keith David, to voice themselves in it. And then there's Duke Nukem. The character is a mashup of 80s action heroes, and his look, the sunglasses, and a ton of his one-liners are ripped straight from Nada. You can see its fingerprints all over music too. Bands from Green Day to Anti-Flag to David Banner have all made music videos that are direct tributes to the movie's style and message. And it's not just punk rock and video games. We're talking about a film that's been honored at the prestigious Venice Film Festival. Novelist Jonathan Lethem literally wrote a book about how much he loves it, calling it one of his favorite movies of the 80s, hands down. He says it's a great film because of how it provokes people and makes them uncomfortable.
Not nice.
Marvelous verdict. At the end of the day, what is it about They Live that just won't die? I think it's because underneath the aliens and the epic 6-minute fistfight, the movie brings out a feeling we all have from time to time. The suspicion that we're being played. That the reality being sold to us isn't the whole story. What do you guys think? When did you first see They Live? And what does it mean to you today? Drop a comment below. I'd genuinely love to hear your take on it. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on our next content.